Welcome back to Rosie's Short Stories. Today's topic, loneliness. Loneliness is something people don't talk about enough, especially as we get older. You often hear people say, if you're a Christian, you're never alone because you have Jesus. And that is true. I believe that with my whole heart. God promises that He will never leave us or forsake us. But there's something we don't talk about enough in the church, and that's the difference between being alone and feeling lonely. Those are not the same thing. Loneliness is the longing for companionship. It's the desire to share life with someone to talk to at the end of the day, someone to laugh with, pray with, and walk through life with. And sometimes when people say, you shouldn't feel lonely because you have Jesus, it can unintentionally dismiss a very real human emotion, because God created us for connection. Think about it. Even in the beginning, God said, it is not good for man to be alone. We were created for relationships, for companionship, for community, and having paper without anyone to enjoy it with just isn't the same. So feeling lonely doesn't mean you lack faith. It doesn't mean you're ungrateful for God. It simply means you're human. Sometimes advice about loneliness can come from people who mean well, but may not understand the experience. For example, when someone who goes home every day to a loving spouse says, you shouldn't feel lonely, it's easy for them to say that. They have companionship, they have someone to share life with daily, and there's nothing wrong with that. That's a beautiful blessing. But for many people today, especially many women, the reality is different. There are simply more women than men, and because of that, many men are okay with that. They say they just want a smash buddy and no commitments. And many women allow it, but if they are being honest with themselves, it's not her desire to be sexually used in most cases, or feel pressure to settle, or they're told to just accept being alone and not desire companionship. But wanting companionship is not weakness. It's not desperation. It's a natural desire placed in us by God. Now, that doesn't mean we lose ourselves searching for someone. It doesn't mean we compromise our values or settle for the wrong relationship. But it does mean we can be honest. Honest about the moments when the house feels quiet, or when something happens good or bad and no one to share it with. About the times when you wish you had someone to talk to and share life with. Honest about the difference between trusting God and pretending you never feel lonely. Faith doesn't mean denying our feelings. Faith means bringing those feelings to God and trusting that even in seasons of loneliness, our lives still have purpose, meaning, and value. Loneliness may visit from time to time, but it doesn't define who we are. And for anyone listening today who has ever felt this way, please know you're not strange, you're not weak, and you're not alone in feeling lonely. You're simply human. But here's the important part. Loneliness doesn't have to take control of your life. Even if you don't currently have the companionship you desire, there are ways to fill your life with meaningful connection and purpose. Sometimes the answer is becoming more engaged with life itself. Getting involved in activities that bring you around people serving in your church, volunteering in your community, joining a group, a class, or even starting a hobby that connects you with others. Connection doesn't always begin with romance. Sometimes it begins with community. Sometimes it begins with friendship. Sometimes it begins with simply being willing to step outside of isolation and open the door to relationships in different forms. And while we may still desire a companion, we can also build a life that is full, meaningful, and rich with connection. Because companionship can come through friendships, family, church family, and community. And when we stay open, stay active, and stay engaged with life, we give ourselves the opportunity for connection in ways we may not have expected. So yes, we can acknowledge the feeling of loneliness, but we don't have to live stuck in it. We can keep living. We can keep connecting. And we can keep believing that God still has beautiful relationships and meaningful connections ahead for our lives. Thanks for listening. Please follow, like, and share.